Welcome to Plantified, because growing should be for everyone. If you want to know how to choose the right grow lamp for yourself, then I recommend that you watch the video until the end. Historically, there are a lot of different grow lamp technologies, of course. We recommend that you use LED-based grow lights. They are the best. They are most energy efficient and they have a long lifetime. Even the, let's say, worst LED-based grow lamps, you can expect a lifetime of 50,000 hours. And with the better ones, you can expect a lifetime of 100,000 hours and beyond. The first and most important criteria, of course, is how much electrical power does the lamp consume? So how much watts are going to be used? Of course, if you have a whole room that you want to grow plants in, then maybe you need a little bit more wattage. But for my personal use cases, I was always happy with maximum 200 watts, 150 watts. It's in that range. So don't go to the 1000 watt range. And of course, the more electrical power you use, the more there is a chance that your grow room will heat up. And where there is heat, there's possibly also fire. And nobody wants to have a fire in his grow room. So if you want to avoid one of these here, then better stay with the lower wattage. But watts itself, how much watts are being used by the grow lamp, is of course an attribute in itself that can be used to distinguish different lamp qualities. Of course, the amount of watts that your grow lamp is using in itself is not so important. It's more important how much ppfd you can get at the same number of watts. And for your electrical bill, of course, you are interested how much electricity and in the end of the day money you have to spend for using your grow lamp. Another aspect to compare your lamps is, of course, what kind of LEDs are being used. We talked in the last video, of course, about the different colors and important wavelengths for light, but here I want to more focus on how much LEDs in totals do we have. If you have a grow lamp, you don't want big gaps between the LEDs. You want a uniform distribution. And when it comes to the different colors that the LED might provide, as you can see here, we have different colors. We have more blue here, centered like a star, and in the corners only white, which, to be honest, I would prefer that the white is scattered more randomly or symmetrically over the whole lamp. Again, as we stressed in our last video, it's very important to have a lot of white LEDs in your grow lamp, because white light contains all colors, so you can be sure that your plant has all the different photons it needs for photosynthesis and for healthy growth. White light is also in general very useful when it comes to inspect your plant. If you have, for example, only blue LEDs or only red LEDs, which we don't recommend, then it would be very hard to really inspect the plant and look at it to see if everything is fine. I also would like to demystify some myth from the past, where a lot of people were thinking that green light is not used by the plant at all, because, well, the plant is green and people think the green is getting reflected, hits our eyes, so we see or perceive the plant as green. But it doesn't mean that all the green photons are being reflected from the plant. It just means that most of the reflected light is green. The plant can still use a lot of green, and it can use it even in a special way. We are showing this small figure here, that you can see the different penetration depth of different colors. We can see that blue light and red light, they basically only hit the plant leaf surface and they don't go into the leaf. So only the cells of the plant that are on the very top can be even used for photosynthesis. And yes, green gets reflected the most, but you can see that green goes into the leaf and also goes through the leaf. Another very important attribute for me personally is whether I can dim the lamp I have or not. Something like that would be very useful. And you can see we have a dimmer here. Some lamps allow you to dim continuously. Some of them allow steps of 10%. It's very important to have a dimmer like that because it makes your life simply easier. This is the first click just to know that first level has been reached, and you can go up with the percentage, and I hope you can still see the lamp is getting more and more strong. I was just informed by my lovely woman that I should not hold the lamp like this, and she's absolutely right. It's starting to get hot there, but yeah, as you see, I sacrificed myself for demonstrating also what not to do. You might ask why I'm so fascinated by this dimmable feature. Well, in the old days, you would have to have 4 different chambers, or 3 different chambers at least, for small plants growing at a certain light, strength, and ppfd value. Or you have also stronger vegetative room and a final room, the flowering room. And basically, if you have a dimmable light source, then you don't have to transport the plants from one place to the next place and so on. You can just change the light strength. Also, it helps a lot when it comes to adjusting distance between the lamp and the plants. If you see that your plants are basically getting too hot because the light is too strong, you can dim it down, or the other way around. So having a dimmable light source for sure giving you more flexibility. Of course, you can have the best lamp ever in the whole world, but it has the wrong shape for you. What do I mean? If you have a grow chamber or grow system that is more square based, then it would be clever to have a square based shape of the lamp. If your grow system has a more rectangular shape, then you should also get a rectangular shaped lamp. So please take care of the fact whether the lamp that you're choosing and the system where you want to use it, that the shapes are fitting. And not only the shape matters, the actual size and dimensions of the lamp, the length and width, this should also of course be fitting so that you can embed it in your grow system. Oh, and by the way, since I felt this heat in my hand, I think we have another attribute, heat generation. So naturally we don't want our plants to get burned by our grow lamp. And for this reason you have to keep a certain distance. But I don't mean only this when I talk about heat generation. I also mean how much heat does the lamp itself generate, because you want to keep a certain temperature and humidity level in your chamber, of course, for the plants to thrive properly. We will think about making another episode where we will focus only on the heat generation and the heat distribution in the grow chamber, and we will use something like that for it, which is a infrared cam. Nonetheless, we want to give you a kind of rule of thumb that you can be more aware of the distance between the lamp and the plant. We have here, for example, a tomato plant. Very nice, very healthy. And of course, this tomato plant has a certain height above the soil, and the pot itself has a certain height. Please keep both things in mind when you want to assure a certain distance from the lamp itself. We can, as a rule of thumb, recommend that you have 20 to 30 degrees Celsius and a humidity of 50 to maximum 70%. This would be ranges for the climate around the plant, such that you don't have to worry about some burning leaves or the plant getting too dry. We will talk about the climate conditions for different plants in a different video, of course, but as a rule of thumb, to know what should be the, let's say, acceptable distance between a lamp and a plant, you have to measure on the top, respectively, not only the ppfd values. We can also recommend that you simply use a thermometer, and the sensor should be directly in the top of the plant of your interest, and this way you can ensure by continuously monitoring that your plant doesn't get too hot. And here's another plant, a strawberry plant. Even though they don't have the same height above the soil, they still could be placed in the same grow chamber with the same distance between the lamp and these two plants. Oh, and since this is a strawberry plant, hey, I found one. Super sweet and looks great. And to give a last example, we have our pumpkin plant here, quite long, as you can see. And here, of course, our lamp, let's say, would have to be placed higher because the plant is just getting bigger and bigger. And again, just put your sensor, wrap it around the plant in the top layer, and observe your temperatures as the day continues. Now that we talked about all these different criteria, it's time to compare some lamps. And this is our first candidate here. This lamp is a little bit special because it already has some reflectors here embedded within the LED. In general, when we are comparing these lamps now, I will make a comparison without reflectors, because of course reflectors can increase the strength of the light in a certain spaces, but that's considered cheating because you can put on every lamp some reflectors. So yes, this lamp has reflectors embedded, which sounds nice, but just to spoil, we had a test with this lamp, and even though there are these reflectors, this lamp is quite weak. So this model is a little bit cheaper. It's more around the 20 to 50 euro range. It has 225 LEDs. 75% of the LEDs are red ones and the other ones are blue, so it has only two different colors. The distribution of the LEDs is quite okay. Even if I don't turn it on now, you can believe me, it's a symmetrical pattern, so that's good. As you can see also, it's a square-shaped lamp and it takes about 45 watts of energy. It's not the strongest lamp, and it could be used, let's say, at least for seedling or some beginning of the vegetative growth phase. And a big minus, it's not dimmable, so you actually have to adjust the height manually. Of course, the big minus here is that we have only red and blue LEDs. Of course, it works, you can use them, but as we saw in the last video, in the McGree curve, that it would be beneficial to use multiple colors and to have white LEDs. I have a similar lamp like this one. I liked it a lot. It also looks cooler with the black, but actually I have to bring it back because it is black. It has white LEDs, two types of white LEDs actually. And apart from the white LEDs, it also has red ones. So only white and red ones. Sounds really good. But as you see, black looks maybe cool, but it's a disaster actually from a physicist point of view to use here the color black, because at least the other lamp before was doing something great, namely using reflective aluminum holes here that a lot of light, visible light, can be reflected. But here with the black, as we all know, black color absorbs all visible light. This is why it looks black, and this is absolutely not what we want. So even though I really like the LED composition in this example here, I have to return it back because I cannot trust somebody who doesn't understand a simple factor like that. Just color the whole lamp in white, please, then I would use it. The last attribute that we talked about, namely the heat generation, I can tell, at least now subjectively, this lamp doesn't get so hot. And here's our second candidate. It has the possibility to employ 150 watts, but it is dimmable. Very, very important. The other one was not dimmable. And here we have white colored LEDs, two type of white colors LEDs actually. And it has red LEDs and in near infrared LEDs as well. And the white LEDs that I mentioned, they have this identificator, let's say, 3000 Kelvin and 5000 Kelvin on the temperature scale for lamps. The near-infrared LEDs are nice to have, let's say, and they are compatible with a modern approach to use near-infrared photons within the E power range, so a little bit more than the power range we mentioned in the last video. But I can tell you that if you have white LEDs, cold or warm white, they all have a certain percentage also of near-infrared photons. So if you don't focus on near-infrared in your growth or grow chamber, then there is no need to actually have them. This grow lamp has 326 LEDs in total, and the price is around 120 euro. Heat generation with this lamp is, I would say, moderate. Of course, if you go to 150 watts, the top can be hot, and also this layer as well. Nonetheless, I think it's quite manageable even without heat sinks. And here's our last candidate, my personal favorite to be honest. It's a lamp with 450 LEDs in total. The LED distribution is not as symmetric as you see, but this lamp has a protective glass and very special lenses, as you hopefully can see. And these lenses help to distribute the light more in a straightforward way so that there's not so much spread outside of the actual lamp area. It has also 150 watts, just like the other model, and it is again dimmable, as we see, which is very important. It actually has the same type of LEDs like the other one. We have here two different white LEDs, 3000 Kelvin and 5000 Kelvin. When it comes to the heat generation of this lamp, I would say it depends. The top layer can get quite hot if you go over 100 watts, let's say, but it's manageable. And you see there also inside the lamp material we have these heat sinks and radiator-like structures that the heat can dissipate faster. And as a last attribute, we see that this lamp is more rectangular shape. I would like to add another attribute that is very helpful to find out which lamp is actually the most efficient. If you want to know how is my light distribution over some height, for example. So here's the result from my personal lamp comparison. And I want to tell you shortly about the experimental setup. You can see in the title, it's a centered PPFD test, and it means you need a power sensor to repeat it in case you want to make a similar test. Basically, I think it's quite easy to imagine. I just put the sensor under the lamp, but in the center. And for different distances, as you can see in the top legend, 18 centimeters, 29 centimeters, and 38 centimeters, I measured the power level, meaning the amount of photons per square meter in second. Let's look on the bottom left at our first candidate. So you can see that our first candidate at 18 centimeters, this is the blue bar, we have a PPFD below 400. At 29 centimeters, it's already almost reaching 200. And for 38 centimeters, we have a value below 200. So there is a kind of a staircase, and it is of course normal. The further you go away from the lamp, the lower will be the PPFD value. But this is essential to, in my opinion, distinguish different lamp qualities by trying to identify this slope. So the second lamp you see starts at a way higher PPFD value for 18 centimeters. The blue bar is above 400, and the red bar at 29 centimeters is around 300. And finally, for 38 centimeters, the biggest distance, we see here a value settling around 200. From these two lamps, we already see that the test reveals that the second one is of course better because it starts at higher values, and the first lamp doesn't really make a good performance here. The third lamp starts at a lower value than the second lamp, but nonetheless we see that the slope, meaning the further we go away, we see that the further we go away, the less PPFD we have, just like in the other examples, but it doesn't decrease as fast. So the third lamp, even though it has even protective glass, which is absorbing a little bit of light, so decreasing the PPFD value slightly, even though we still have a very good slope for the third lamp. So from this test, or this attribute that I introduced here, the third lamp is for me still a winner. Oh, and before I forget, of course, it's very crucial that if you do a lamp test like this, that every lamp is consuming the same electrical power. So the first lamp could at maximum work at 45 watts and it's not dimmable. The second lamp has at maximum 150 watts, but we dimmed it to 30%, that it equals 45 watts. And the third lamp, of course, also has at maximum 150 watts, but we decreased the intensity to 30% as well. So the comparison here makes sense because all these lamps were tested by using 45 watts. And so if I would have to choose between the different models we showed here today, then the winner would be this lamp. Why? Because first of all, the metric that I introduced, which covers the power loss or light intensity loss over the center by distance, this lamp was the best performing within this category. And in all other categories, this lamp has only plus points. I didn't see a negative point here. It is maybe more expensive. It was around 150 to 200 euro. And I like the fact that there is a protection glass, and also with these lenses, the LEDs themselves are protected. And I don't have to worry so much about adjusting the light, let's say, in the right time, because I know if the plants touch this glass, I did a lot of tests, or this layer of lenses here, then the plants will not be hurt from this. So all in all, I don't know what else somebody would wish from a row lamp. So this is the winner. So what do you think? What lamps do you like? What is your favorite lamp? Write it down in the comments. And if you send us even a link, we can give you some recommendation about our viewpoint on the lamp of your choice. Don't forget to subscribe and have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching Plantified.